I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Dropouts podcast is ending, and it feels like I'm losing friends. And I know that's an unhealthy parasocial way of thinking about it, but they have been a part of my life for the last 2 years or so and gotten me through some really boring weeks, long weeks, and the consistency and the humor behind it has really made my weeks a little bit better. Obviously, some weeks were hard, but the Dropouts podcast was always something I could fall back on and know that I would have a good time, even if it was just for an hour or two. It feels sad knowing that it's ending, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I know that it's a parasocial relationship, and obviously they don't know who I am. They have no mourning over losing me, and I have to accept that, and it's okay. Let's talk about how I found the Dropouts podcast first. I became a mailman at the beginning of January 2024. So I've been a mailman for about a year and a half now. And when you become a mailman, you have a lot of long days on your own. It gets quiet and music gets boring. And what better way to fill the time than listen to something that makes you laugh? So it's weird, but I used to be a mailman for like 4 years when I was 19 to 23. I quit and then came back like 2.5 years later. So prior, when I was a mailman before, I had this comedy podcast that I loved called The Comedy Button. And it was just 4 or 5 guys just BSing and just talking about random stuff. And I was like, let's find something similar to that because I enjoyed that. It made the day go by and it's just fun. And so I stumbled upon Dropouts. And I really, really enjoyed Zach's personality. I really enjoyed how Jared complimented it. And I found them about the time that the episode was between like 180 and 190. So right in the Tar Yummy era. That was when they were popping off a little bit more and gaining some clout. And I think it just found its way to me. That's when I got on and I fell in love with it immediately and binge watched like the majority of the earlier episodes and was like, this is the new podcast. This is what I'm listening to. I subbed to the Patreon, and I have literally never done that before. I have never given money to creators for extra content, but for some reason, their personalities drew me in. I felt like I was in the room with them. I felt like I had more friends than I actually did. I think one thing that made the Dropouts podcast so alluring to me is how they were basically the same age as me. I'm in my mid to late 20s now, and when I found them, I was freshly 26, and now I'm 27 and a half, and Jared's 27, Zach, I believe, is 29, Skylar's 29, Alyssa's 28. They're all very close to my age, and it was very relatable, and when I went back to their back catalog, they were a little bit younger, and I've always felt kind of out of tune with what's going on in the world because I kind of live in my own bubble. I don't really live on social media. I don't know the trends. I don't know what's going on with the news. I'm not caught up with stuff. So they kind of showed me the trends and kept me relevant. They showed me new music. They showed me new creators, and it was just a good time. The consistency and the weekly uploads they had, which was on Sunday, and then if you subscribe to the Patreon, it was also Tuesday. It kept me having something to look forward to. And I haven't had something to look forward to like episode or TV series since like Total Drama Island when I was a kid because I was obsessed with that show. So it felt good to have something, like I wasn't like dying for it to be Sunday, but when it was Sunday, I was like, oh great, Dropouts is coming. So that's good. The podcast, even though it was just a comedy podcast, it taught me a little bit. It taught me about interacting with people and socializing. I've always been a little insecure in myself. Seeing how Zach just displays confidence, just says whatever's on his mind in such a crafty way and spins it in such a unique way that's funny, it gave me the confidence to swing for a few strikes because not all your jokes are going to land, but that doesn't mean people hate you. I didn't laugh at every single joke that Zach made. Some of them were just not funny in my opinion, but that doesn't mean he's not a funny guy. He is a hilarious guy. And because he takes those shots, because he's not afraid to miss sometimes, that's what I respect about him even more because it shows confidence. And the biggest thing that I can recall was there was this silent disco that I went to. It was a social event, and I'm not very social to begin with, but it was a social event. I went with a friend, and I was like, yeah, I want to try new things. So we went to the silent disco. Friends of friends were coming along. So I was getting introduced to like a group, and I was a little nervous, but it sounds weird, but asked myself, what would Zach do? And I shot some jokes out that did miss, but for the most part, they had a great time with me, and I had a great time. And I think it was an overall net positive. And that's not something that I really would have done or tried to do if I didn't really see and resonate with Zach. So even just through podcasts, even though I know he has no idea who I am, he did make a difference in my life, and he is a very cool guy that I am fond of. With that being said, I know all good things must come to an end. Obviously, if their heart is not into it, it would not be good to drag the show along. So I respect their decision, and I know that they are going to go on to do great things. And when I say they, I just mean all the hosts together, Zach, Jared, Alyssa, and Skylar. They have a bunch of different stuff that they're going to do, and I'll support them. I just want to say thank you to them all, because they made a lot of happy weeks. They made me laugh a lot, and they made me feel like I had some really cool friends. So thank you, Zach, for showing me confidence, some edginess, and humor. And thank you, Jared, for always sticking up for us and prioritizing the listeners. You always had the funniest and oddest stories. They would ask for fun facts, and you would just spit out facts like you were programmed to. You're like the popsicle stick joke or the Snapple cap. You just have random knowledge locked and loaded, and you're a funny guy. I hope you go on and do great things with your music. Skylar, thanks for keeping everyone in check when you came on. Zach sometimes gets a bit of an ego. Who am I kidding? Like, a lot of the time. And I felt like Skylar was the only guy that would kind of put Zach in line and talk to him the way he needed to be talked to. And it was just cool to see like a childhood friend, because I have a childhood friend, and it's cool to see you guys pass stories along from like when you were a kid. And it just, thank you for being unfiltered and saying what is ever on your mind. Confidence is cool, even if you say some questionable stuff. I know you probably have a lot of like love-hate fans, but I respect your confidence in what you say and how you say it. So thank you for that. And Alyssa, thanks for dealing with the bits. They antagonized you so much. You know, sometimes I was like, man, do they even like Alyssa? But you stuck through it. You were a good sport. Thanks for just having it all come together and being supportive of everything and helping them make a great show, because it was awesome. I'm very sad Dropouts is over, and it will be missed. I think some of my favorite moments in Dropouts, it's overplayed, but Jared's story about the Snickers and using that as protection, that's always a good one. I love how there was Team Whole Milk and Team Zach and Team Indy. I like the 200 episode special with the balloons and how Tara was there. I thought it was fun. And what makes a podcast like this special is knowing that it's not overstaying its welcome, knowing that we had 5 great years, we have such a big backlog now, and it really inspires me to kind of go off and do my own thing, because with the podcast ending, it just goes to show you that time is passing. Your life isn't going to be like this forever, and things change. And I know for me, I've always wanted to do a podcast. I've always loved the idea of having memories out there forever. I'm not going to be in my 20s forever. And it just kind of gives me a motivational boost to get a friend and go for a podcast. But I'm going to miss it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. If you guys have any favorite times, favorite moments, how you stumbled upon Dropouts, let me know. I think it's an end of an era, and I almost feel silly for making a video about it, but I feel like I need to, because I haven't listened to a podcast like this religiously, like literally ever. It's new to me, and I'm just trying to figure out the best way to cope with it, guys. So